talks were intended to run parallel to a mediation effort by the U.S. President Donald Trump's administration involving Congo and Rwanda. The South African anti-migrant group Operation Dudula says it will continue blocking foreign nationals from accessing public healthcare services in the country. This follows the release of its members who were arrested at the Lilian Ngoyi Clinic in Soweto, south of Johannesburg, after questioning patients about their nationality and demanding identity documents. Operation Dudula President Zandile Tabula says foreign nationals need to pay for health services.
We do not want foreigners to be accessing our public healthcare facilities. If they need medical attention, they're more than welcome to go to private facilities and pay for them. Now, if we have a public facility that has a method of payment and tracking who this person is, which means that the person has come to the country legally, then we will not have a problem as long as they're going to pay for the services they receive. We don't have a problem.
Okay.
But if we are illegal, we don't want you near our clinics.
The Department of International Relations in South Africa has rejected a U.S. State Department Human Rights Country Report on South Africa as inaccurate and deeply flawed. The State Department has released its annual country report on human rights practices, including South Africa, where it alleges that the human rights situation in South Africa significantly worsened during the year, citing reports of arbitrary and unlawful killings, arbitrary arrests or detention, and the repression of racial minorities. In a lengthy statement released by DECO, the ministry registered its profound disappointment with the U.S. report and pointed to what it viewed as human rights deficiencies in the United States in a sharp repudiation. Sean Bryce-Peace reports from New York that this development could add an additional layer of tension to an already strained bilateral relationship.
The DERCO statement affirmed South Africa's institutions designed to protect the country's democracy, including Chapter 9 institutions, which it said were constitutionally mandated to protect and advance human rights. DERCO accused the United States of seeking to produce one-sided, fact-free reports without due process or engagement, pointing to the irony of what it called significant and documented concerns about human rights within the United States, including the treatment of refugees and breaches in due process by its own agencies, such as the Federal Immigration Enforcement Agency known as ICE. DERCO said it remained open to addressing what it called distortions through diplomatic channels.
Lastly, President Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukraine will not abandon the Donbas, which is the eastern region that Russia and its proxies now largely control. He has warned that doing so would give Russia a springboard for future attacks. It's believed annexing the Donbas will be a key demand of the Russian leader when he meets President Donald Trump on Friday in Alaska. Kira Rudik is a Ukrainian member of parliament.
What are the security guarantees that are going to be provided to Ukraine? Because without that, any discussions about territories, swapping lands, etc., do not make any sense. We have been in the ceasefire agreements with Russia since 2014, and we can tell you for a fact that they are not to honor them.
Recapping on your top stories, Burkina Faso has sentenced 13 people to life imprisonment for acts of terrorism, including a 2018 attack against the French embassy. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Tsinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Hey, good morning, everybody. It's that time once again for On The Move. Thanks to Peter and Asanda for keeping us going. It's Wednesday. Is this when we say Happy Hump Day?
This is. So go ahead, Benji.
Happy Hump Day.
Happy Hump Day.
Yeah, I'm learning these terms that we always see on the digital landscape. Today, apparently, is Hump Day. We're right in the middle of the week, so we're just about to make it to the other side of the week. We're right on that bridge, and we're going to see what the rest of the week holds for us us. And all the conversations are going to be happening today. Remember, you are listening to us on DSTV Channel 802, OpenView 628, www.channelafrica.co.za. And remember, you can also find us on the SABC Plus app. Well, in the first hour, we're going to have a very difficult conversation, a very unsettling conversation. Not quite sure how to grapple with it as society, but it's one that's there and actually exists.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be looking at an issue of incest, which has remained a social ill, not just on the African continent, but all over the world for many, many centuries. There's so many legalities or illegalities connected to this, issues with genetics, but also just like it being a socially shunned practice all across the world.
There's also criminal elements to incest,
Yes.
especially when fathers groom children to form a relationship, and thereafter you actually see a relationship forming maybe when there's a point of consent at a particular time, but there's a lot of questions around it. But we know also there's huge abuse that happens in many, many communities that have to do with incest. So it's a sensitive one. I have to say, if you are sensitive, this could actually trigger you.
Yeah.
So you are allowed to switch off just for the first 30 minutes of the show as we look at this one. If you know that issues around abuse are things that affect you, please be sensitive on this conversation.
Absolutely. We're going to be moving on into the second hour of today's show in a bit of a brighter mood afterwards. We're going to be speaking about something that's been rather growing as more and more people move away from rural environments and come into the cities, obviously with more opportunities, work in the inner cities. People are still trying to find ways to grow their own food in the inner city through rooftop gardens. So we're going to be chatting about that and exploring how small space farming is reshaping urban landscapes.
Yeah, vertical farming is something that's growing in many, many communities. In fact, in situations where we're seeing high inflation that is, affecting us in our food space.
Vegetables are
expensive. We like pretending they're not, but they're really, really expensive. So people are trying to find alternative ways to eat healthy. So that should be a good one. And then we're going to move on in our third hour. Why are girls going through puberty much earlier? It's something that's probably not happening now, something that we've seen in general, but we're going to look at that and try to figure out what's the cause if a young one actually goes to puberty very early.
Absolutely. Those are some of the conversations we'll be having with you today. In order for you to engage on those conversations, you can find us on our social media platforms. We are at Channel Africa 1 on X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and on Facebook, we are simply Channel Africa. Welcome to On The Move.
The Midnight Snack, 12 to 3 a.m.
Young couples or young people that are getting married, we often hear of divorces, that they're getting divorced, and it's quite worrying because when we attend these weddings, we want to see these people flourish and celebrate 30-year anniversaries. What do you think is the main challenge that is facing newlyweds?
We say that tell me how you were raised and I'll tell you how you love. So when we see people getting married, that's not where the relationship actually starts. The relationship starts with how you were raised, what you were familiar with, because we are attracted to what we are familiar with. If you don't have a background where love was prominent, where love was authentic, it's going to be very difficult for you to manufacture that in later life. So our upbringing has something to do with it.
The Midnight Snack, every Monday, 12 to 3 a.m. with Chanduko Ligege. Get set and be ready to go. On the Move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama.
Hey, this is a very difficult but deeply important conversation to talk about that lurks in the shadow of our communities, and it happens a lot whereby it is very much criminal in certain aspects, and in certain aspects it's actually a choice made by two consenting adults. We're talking about incest today. This form of abuse, if it is a devastating violation of trust and safety within the family, family at times and can cause profound psychological, emotional, and physical consequences that can last a lifetime. Such acts are illegal in jurisdictions due to the inherent harm or coercion and psychological damage they cause. Even in consensual adult cases, it is widely considered taboo and can lead to emotional and social consequences in a larger communal environment. Well, to help us on this one, we're joined by Ingrid Polak, who's a psychotherapist and social worker. Ingrid, welcome on the show.
Thank you so much, Benjamin.
Let's talk a little bit about what is the definition of incest.
Well, incest is basically sexual intimacy between close family members, primarily father-daughter, mother-son, daughter-daughter, and it can even move into the next circle of cousins and aunts and uncles, or even grandparents who are involved, and it could also be between siblings.
Help us understand that a little bit more, because it's very broad. Could you elaborate on those particular aspects, whether it is sexually wrong at most times, or when it's actually a decision by consenting adults? I think we need to create those distinctions because it's important for us not to misunderstand it, and also not to promote bad behavior in society. So, Ingrid, you can continue giving us those contextualized aspects of incest.
Okay, so in South Africa, incest could be, well, it is seen as a criminal act, but it also depends on the culture that incest is permissible. So, for instance, some Middle Eastern cultures where cousins can get married, first cousins can get married and raise a family, that is permissible, whereas in many other countries, first and second cousins are not allowed to actually get married and engage in sex, because there is a genetic component that happens should a child be born, and that child could be carrying genetic issues because they are so closely related. So in this country, incest is actually not allowed, and it is considered a criminal act. So yeah, I think third cousins, people can start getting married and actually having children, but you can't really stop consenting adults from actually engaging in sex and creating a child. But when it comes to children under the age of 18 with an adult, that could also constitute incest. If they are closely related, such as a family member, like parents and children, or aunts and uncles and cousins, you know, from other side, also grandparents.
Well, Sinead, I'd like to bring you into this conversation. That's Sinead Cameron McIntosh, who is a genetic counselor. Of course, genetics play a huge role in this. And this is obviously not a new conversation. In fact, it's so old that historically, King Charles II of Spain from the House of Habsburg had often been noted as the most inbred European monarch of all time. He died early, and he was known and painted in a way he was rather deformed, couldn't speak properly, couldn't eat properly, couldn't breathe properly, and he still remains in history one of the most inbred monarchs to be known. But even in the African continent, the fact that there are words and phrases for incest means that it's been taking place. In isiZulu, but umkhonto ugwaze ekhaya. In Setswana, they can say dikgomo di boela sakeng. These are all connotations of incest that have existed in our times.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me on. So I just want to state from the beginning that, you know, the medical and scientific community really aim to be inclusive and non-judgmental in the terms that we use. So we use the term consanguinity instead of things like incest and inbreeding.
Can you say that word again, please?
Consanguinity. is the medical and scientific term that we use, because it doesn't have the same, negative connotations. So it's just to try and be inclusive and non-judgmental.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, as you mentioned, consanguinity has been around for hundreds of years. And, we've already mentioned in the Middle East, it's part of the culture that first cousins, second cousins do get married, do have children. And similarly in parts of Africa. So with the genetic aspect, we know that genetic diversity is helpful in keeping a healthy gene population. And what that means is that the more genetic diversity we have, the lower the incidence in general of certain recessive conditions are. So when we talk about our DNA, our DNA is a recipe that we get from our mom and our dad, half from mom, half from dad. And it tells our bodies, what to make and how to make certain things in our body, like our eye color and how our bodies are going to function. So when we see relationships between closely related people, again, first-degree relatives like parents and children, and then secondary relatives like cousins and aunts and uncles, then we do see, in general, an increased incidence or risk of genetic conditions or birth defects.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you want me to carry on all these questions.
Yes, I think I'd love you to sort of explain that a little bit further. How does this inbreeding increase the likelihood of genetic disorders or birth defects?
So a lot of the studies are done on cousin relationships. So there's a lot of great studies that happen in the Middle East that, we pull the figures from. So internationally, the risk of a birth defect in newborns is 3 to 5%. So that's in non-related relationships. That risk can go up to somewhere between 6 and 10% in first cousin marriages. So it is almost a double, two to two times higher risk when we do see relationships between cousins. There are fewer studies looking at parents and sibling relationships because it's just not as common as, someone mentioned. It's generally taboo and illegal. So people might not disclose that is, the product of the baby's not the product of those relationships. So, what we really look out for is conditions like congenital heart disease, blood disorders, kidney disorders, and then complex diseases such as diabetes and heart disease also do increase when we see relationships between relatives.
All right, we're going to take a bit of a break. Thank you for helping us unpack that and start that off. And it's my first time hearing of that term, consanguinity. It's a fact of being descended from the same ancestors, a characteristic of having a kinship with a relative who's descended from a common ancestors. Many jurisdictions have laws prohibiting people who are closely related by blood from marrying or having sexual relations with each other. That's what we're talking about. Generally, we know that as incest. We're trying to understand that concept today. What's your take on this one? Do you know any maybe people in your community in where you at, where you've seen relationships from same families? What's your take on this one? Give us your thoughts on our WhatsApp number +2763 406 9126. We'll come back after this and continue the conversation.
Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
The United States was very vocal at the beginning of South Africa's G20 presidency, and this is largely due to strained relations with South Africa at the time, that they were not really keen on participating. Where do they stand right now?
The US is planning to take over the presidency of the G20 next year, and our understanding from them is that they intend to continue to do so, and therefore it is quite difficult then then to be in a situation where you are not attending deputies' meetings or discussions during our presidency and then to take over the presidency next year. From a finance track perspective, there has been engagement. We've been working on a communique last week and this week here in Zimbabwe. What's important about that is that it's a consensus document. And so all the members in the room have to agree to the language that is used there. And our US colleagues have been part of those discussions and negotiations.
Bringing the African markets into your home. Channel Africa, the African perspective. 9 to 12 midday, Central African Time. On the move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama.
It's 21 minutes past 9 Central Africa time. We're having a really deeply, concerning issue. It is concerning or misunderstood issue in some areas of the world. And once again, we'd like to put out a trigger warning because in some instances of this conversation, there might be underlying tones of abuse or sexual violence. We're speaking about what is commonly known as incest, and as we've also learned, consanguinity is also something that can be named a more non-judgmental term that has been put in place for the term incest. And we'll continue to unpack this particular conversation with our experts of the day. We're speaking to Ingrid Pollack, who's a psychotherapist and social worker, as well as Shanied Cameron McIntosh, who's a genetics counselor. And let me come back to you, Ingrid. We have stated that there might have been underlying tones of abuse or sexual violence in conversations of incest, particularly if we are looking at an older family member who is in a relationship or sexual relations with a younger family member. Let's briefly unpack that.
Okay, so what is your question?
So I'm saying, would there be underlying tones of abuse, even if there is a consensual incest that takes place between perhaps an uncle and a child, a father and a child, even an aunt and a child within that same family landscape?
Well, often there isn't consent per se, especially when the child is under 18. From about the age of 18, the child can consent, but even then, there is an element of abuse because that particular child has been they've been groomed into having a sexual relationship with a much older family member, such as an aunt or a parent or a grandparent.
And
So
I would
there-
like
there
us
is
to
an
unpack.
element of an abuse.
Apologies there for coming in. I would like us to unpack the nature of grooming because many people might not understand. Obviously, once that particular child is of consenting age, they're like, well, yeah, this is what I'm choosing. I'm in love with this particular older family member. But many don't really understand how grooming really works.
Well, grooming normally works when the adult, it's actually a manipulation of the child. So they would, pay a little bit more attention to the child or entice them with gifts or, clothing or money and be there when the child is feeling insecure or needing extra nurturing. And this is how they become, they start feeling safe with a particular adult, although they don't know that the adult has actually got any ulterior motives. So the adult is actually grooming the child to trust them further, and then they move on to the touching and the fondling, and eventually it leads to rape. For all intents and purposes, it leads to rape, where the child has actually felt safe with the person, so they don't know what the next move is from the adult. And whatever the move is, they accept it, and it confuses the child because they don't know whether it is abuse or whether it's affection, so they simply accept it.
Let's speak a little bit about the broadness of this because, we've spoken from a landscape whereby it is actually normalized in certain communities and cultural choices. But then we also have this area whereby it's actually illegal. Ingrid, this is a broad subject matter, and probably that's what makes this issue even more complex. Could you expand on those complexities for us?
No, say that again.
I don't understand your question. Can you elaborate?
In terms of how broad it is, earlier on we were speaking to Shinyed, who's like saying, look, we don't actually put these taboos in certain instances or certain judgments because it's a choice by those who make decisions, right? And then there's an area that you've just elaborated on in terms of where it is illegal and can be sexual abuse. So the broadness makes the issue of incest complex, and that complexity makes it misunderstood even further in our society.
So in other words, the complexity is when the child is under 18 and the adult is 18 and over.
I'm just saying in general as well, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, if it's between two consenting adults, so if the adults are 18 and 18, then there are two consenting adults or older. But if the adult is 18 and the child is under 18, then it's considered rape. And therefore it becomes an illegal matter and a criminal matter if it is found out. I mean, I'm sure there are lots of cases where, it's been consented between a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old brother and sister, and then the little girl falls pregnant, and, it just gets swept under the carpet and the baby's born and it just carries on. But if the girl who's under 18 reports rape, then it starts becoming a legal matter, and then investigations start coming in and, finding out who the rapist is, and if it's a family member or if it's a stranger, if it's just somebody known to the family.
I want to come back to you, Shanied, and speak a little bit about genetic counseling, because, I was seeing a show, there's a South African show on TV where people who are related fall in love and they tell their family members, hey, we're in love and we'd like to get your blessing to continue with our relationship and possibly even get married. If a couple like that, and perhaps maybe they're first or second cousins, or maybe even half sister or brother, in that instance, how does genetic counseling work if they would want to have children together? Shanied, are you still there? Okay, it seems like we've lost Shanied on the line. I'll come back to you, Ingrid. Of course, this instance doesn't just affect the two who are within this relationship, this very complex relationship, but it affects the family at large. Incest is something that happens within the family dynamic. How would this psychologically affect a family or a community?
It really depends on the family and the community. If it is accepted where brother and sister can get married and have children, or first cousins can get married and have children, then it's the norm within that family and community. But in Western culture, it's not as acceptable, and therefore it becomes a taboo subject. And then, psychologically, what does actually happen to the people who are involved in the relationship? How are they accepted within the community, or are they rejected and they are ostracized? And the same applies to their own families. So they can get ostracized and kicked out for all intents and purposes. So it really depends on each individual case, and it's not a one-size-fits-all case. I mean, on the other hand, if there is, let's say, there are, let's say the male who's older is high functioning, but the female is low functioning, and she doesn't understand what's going on, and they'll end up, engaging in intimacy, and she'll end up falling pregnant. She doesn't have the mental capacity to actually deal with whatever was going on, because she is she's how could I say, she doesn't have the capacity as the other person does mentally.
Okay.
So that needs to be taken into consideration as well. It's very intricate. It's literally not a one-size-fits-all situation.
Mm-hmm. Well, Ingrid, we've run out of time on this one. Thank you for helping us on this. It's a very complex issue indeed. Thank you for giving us your time. That's Ingrid Pollack, who's a psychotherapist and a social worker. Thank you as well to Shanied Cameron McIntosh, who's a genetic counselor. What's your take on that one, and the complexity of it and the difficulty around it as well, but also the legalities around it? Give us your thoughts on our WhatsApp number, +27 63 406 9126. And let's move on right now. It's 9:30 Central African time. Let's get our sports update from Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
And a very good morning from the sports desk. Former Premier League referee David Coote has been given an 8-week suspension by the Football Association for comments made about ex-Liverpool boss Jurgen Klopp on social media. So Coote, who was sacked by the Premier League in December of 2024, has been further sanctioned by the FA for what they call aggravated breach of Rule E 3.2 because of the reference he made to Klopp's nationality in that video. So the clip was filmed around July of 2020 and was only leaked online in November of 2024. Coote admitted the charge. The FA's written reasons for the verdict, said Coote had expressed deep remorse and acknowledged his comments were grass and inappropriate. In some cricket news now, Devil Brevis unbeaten 125 for the Proteas in the second T20 International against Australia not only earned his team a comprehensive 53-run victory in Darwin, but also broke all manner of records on the day. The 22-year-old has now become the youngest South African to hit a T20 international century, beating Richard Levy's record of 24 years old. He also eclipsed Faf du Plessis' 10-year highest score of 119, while his 41-ball 100 was also the second fastest by a South African, behind only David Miller's 35 deliveries in 2017. Brevis is happy with the fact that he was able to enter the history books yesterday.
If someone didn't tell me after the game, I think it was at the match something, then I wouldn't have known, but it's Jock Cullis, if I'm correct. Someone said it's Jock, but is it Faf? So I got it wrong, I didn't know. But it's obviously it's a privilege and an honor, and there's not a lot of words. I'm just extremely grateful and excited for what is ahead.
Brevis says he's always believed in his abilities and also backed himself to make it on the international level. He was, however, careful not to let it get to his head, noting that there's still a long way to go.
I've always believed that this is where I need to be and where I'll be. So I never had doubt or anything. It's all about cricket, how things work out. It is a roller coaster. You have your ups, you have your downs, and it's never ever have I doubted myself. This is just, for me, the start of, if I could say it like that. It's not that this happened now and now I'm happy or anything. Like, I just want to keep working hard, do the same things.
Onto this story now. The White House is set to host the Ultimate Fighting Championship, known as the UFC event, next year as part of the 4th of July celebrations in the USA to mark the 250th anniversary of the country's founding. Now, the Octagon Cage fight event was announced by UFC boss Dana White, whose friendship with the president dates back to the early 2000s, when Donald Trump hosted some of the first UFC events at his business properties. Now, White said he planned to meet with the president as well as his daughter Ivanka at the end of the month to finalize the plans. It will also mark the first time a UFC fighting competition would be hosted at the White House. It's still unclear where the event will be hosted. UFC fights typically draw tens of thousands of people and are held in large arenas with the sport's trademark 8-sided octagon cage in the middle. And finally, American sprinter Sha'Carri Richardson says she will seek help following her arrest over allegations of domestic violence. The 25-year-old was detained on the 27th of July at Seattle Tacoma International Airport following an altercation with her boyfriend and fellow U.S. athlete Christian Coleman. Now, a police report said footage appeared to show Coleman being shoved into a wall before Richardson threw an item at him. Coleman did not want to participate in the investigation and declined to be a victim, according to the police report. It's 9:35 a.m. Central African Time. And concludes your sports news on the first hour of The Move. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or give us a call. The newsroom line is +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibu Di Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa in Song with Chanduko Ligege.
So when you think of African music, you think of kwasa kwasa, high life music from West Africa, Afrobeat from West Africa, of gospel music or faith music or spiritual music. But when we think of reggae music, we go to the Caribbean, and if it's Africa, we only think about Lucky Dube. Well, I'm here to introduce you to some reggae music from Africa. Salif Keita with Dakan Fair from Mali, and I must say this one was a real shock for me because I never had imagined Salif Keita on a reggae beat. But listening to him, it just proved to me how versatile he is as an artist, because you'd be expecting him to be on that vibe of West Africa, of ballads. But he really proved that he is very versatile, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Africa in Song with Chanduko Ligege.
Thank you, Musibudi Makura. Let's move on with Chanduko Ligege, who has our latest business news.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Palesa. Good morning. As the world is grappling with a number of challenges, including the recent sweeping tariffs from the U.S., the Africa 50 is hosting its shareholders meeting in Maputo, Mozambique. The event is expected to be addressed by Mozambican President Daniel Chapo. Africa 50 is one of the key institutions pushing for infrastructure development in Africa. Kayelihle Kumalo reports from Maputo.
A very important event is happening here. So it's hosted by Africa 50 alongside the Mozambican government. So it comes amid all the global uncertainties emanating from the tariffs in the US. So it's all about crafting the internal mechanisms to cushion and make sure that the infrastructure rollout, for example, is one of the biggest really endeavors for the African continent.
The South African Federation of Trade Unions, SAFTU, has slammed the national dialogue that kickstarts this Friday at the Matthews Hall, UNISA in Pretoria. SAFTU Secretary General Secretary Zolinzima Vavi has branded the dialogue as a waste of time. Last week, 7 legacy foundations withdrew from the dialogue and claimed it had been compromised. Vavi says the national dialogue will not meet the demands of the working class.
The national dialogue is a diversion. It's a waste of time talk show that is not going to produce the results, that is not going to meet even the most basic demands of the working class for jobs at a decent wage and all of that. We are now doubtful that we will attend this one on Friday because we've been reluctant players in the beginning.
Meanwhile, the South African Federation of Trade Unions, SAFTU, is proposing that the country should hold a presidential economic summit to tackle the unemployment rate in South Africa. The unemployment rate has increased from 32.9% in the first quarter to 33.2% in the second quarter of 2025. SAFTU spokesperson Newton Masuku says the situation will worsen with the new US 30% tariff increase.
Called for an emergency presidential economic summit, which will bring together trade unions, progressive economists, and affected sectors to develop a united sovereign response. Secondly, we have called for the diversification of trade, centering in particular the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, the BRICS partners, and also global South economies to reduce reliance on hostile markets. When the 30% Trump tariffs take effect, this situation will worsen.
De Beers joint venture in Angola has discovered a new kimberlite field, the most common source of mined diamonds. This is its first such discovery in 3 decades. The Anglo-American is jointly exploring for diamonds in Angola in partnership with the country's state-owned diamond company, Andiama. In a statement, De Beers says the joint venture had hit kimberlite in its first drill hole into a high-priority cluster of targets in July 2025. Stocks in Asia climbed as the US dollar subdued as data showed both resilience in major economies and the need for central banks to remain accommodative. Wall Street scaled new highs driven by increasing certainty the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates next month. Japan's Nikkei broke through the 43,000 level for the first time, and cryptocurrency rose to an almost 4-year high. Let's have a look at our financial indicators at this hour. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 Naira 535. In Botswana, 13 Pula 33. Kenya, the dollar is at 128 shilling 429. Zambia, 23 kwacha 14. BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is at 5 real 42. In Russia, 79 rubles 58. India, 87 rupees 63. China, 71 18. South Africa, 17 rand 65 cents. $1 is 74 pence to the British pound and 85 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is at $3,354. Platinum at $1,343 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $65.95 a barrel. That is all for now. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chanruko Ligege.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Download the SABC app and take Channel Africa with you everywhere you go.
The SABC is pleased to announce the launch of the new self-registration platform. Vendors wishing to do business with the SABC can self-register on our internally developed platform. Vendors are able to access this platform on our website www.sabc.co.za/SABC/ under e-tenders, or self-register at etender.sabc.co.za and follow the prompts. Visit SABC social media pages for more details.
Je, una jambo lolote akilini mwako? Je, una shauku kuhusu masuala muhimu? Na je, una maoni ambayo unataka yasikike? Kweli, hili jukwaa ni la kwako. Piga simu au tuandikie kwenda WhatsApp namba alama ya kujumulisha 2760552594 na tutakupigia simu.
Mtangazaji wa habari zetu za Afrika Kusini mjini Johannesburg.
Hivyo unaweza kuwa mshirika kwenye matangazo yetu. Sio mazungumzo tu, ni fursa yako ya kuchangia maoni yako na kushirikiana na jumuiya ya wasikilizaji wanaotamani mtazamo wako. Tufuate kwenye mitandao ya kijamii. Tembelea tovuti yetu www.channelafrica.co.za na uwe tayari kushiriki na kuchangia maoni yako kwenye Channel Africa. Channel Africa, mtazamo wa Kiafrika.
Step into the heart of the day on the move with Palesa and Benjamin. Benjamin Moshatama and Palesa on the move.
You give me life, it is solar. Can't feel your love taking over. On a good day, I be loner. See what you make me discover. Girl, you don't change my persona. The revelation is in order. All the pressure I've been under. Why I call you Ngozi? God don't bless me Ngozi. No deserve is kind loving. The loving way you show me. Private lounging on Paris with expensive room service. No one make me do like this. Girl, I got you, no worries, no worries. He did do me wow wow. Scatter my intana. Baby on sala. No killing me kitana. Check all of his wow. My protection is the lala. Every no disala. No killing me kitana. He did do me wow wow wow. Scatter my intana. Baby on sala. No killing me kitana. Check all of his wow. My protection is the lala. Every no disala. No killing me kitana.
Panamera, hola, hola. I'm levitating, I feel like ecstasy when you whisper na kupenda. The thing you put for this, your love. Got my heart and my soul on love. And I wanna go crazy with you. Through the night till the sun come on. Let's do it all for love. There's nothing for any corporal. I never wanna lose this.
to you I belong. This must be love. You did do me wow, wow. Scatter my internal. Craving your inside, killing me kitana. Check a love is wow. My passion is the lala. Every no desire, killing me kitana. You did do me wow, wow, wow. Scatter my internal. Craving your inside, killing me kitana. Check a love is wow. My passion is the lala. Every no desire, killing me kitana. Everything you do me, I like. My best friend, the love of my life. I know if it day without. I be you won't make it bad. You sound my hold on to. Girl, you know fear I did for you. I go on the matter for me and you. Make I be the reason you believe in true love. Why I call you Ngozi? God don't bless me Ngozi. No deserve is kind loving. The loving way you show me. Private lounging in Paris. With expensive room service. No one make me do like this. Girl, I got you, no worries, no worries. You did do me wow, wow. Scatter my internal. Craving your inside, you're killing me kitana. Check a love is wow. My passion is the lala. Every no desire, you're killing me kitana.
This is Crayon featuring Iris Dangozi, 9:47 Central Africa time. You're tuned into On the Move. Yeah, man, there's so much to unpack on the conversation that we just had. And we've learned a lot. I think we've learned a lot from our guest. We were talking about incest. And this is a practice that is quite ancient. It's happened both in the West and in Africa. And it is shunned in many communities. And it also has layers of criminality depending which country you're in. But we also learned the term consanguinity, which is a more non-judgmental term of the word incest in situations that aren't either criminal or abusive and are consensual.
Yeah, it's complicated because one can actually blur the other, right? As I was saying that off air, you were speaking about terms that we use culturally that, the cows will stay in the kraal because that's how we justify marrying into the same family. But there's people who actually use the same terms to actually abuse children and abuse family members. So we have to be careful with this one.
Absolutely. Well, you let us know what your thoughts are in this one. And we know that these things do exist in the very communities we live in. I actually spoke earlier about a TV show that we have here in South Africa.
Someone was just showing us a video of that.
Yes.
And what they were showing us is actually a couple, a mother and a father who were arguing, right? And the mother was saying, no, I'm actually in love with my stepson.
Yeah, the stepson. Because the mother isn't the biological mother of the son in question, who's also older, who isn't underage, who is an older
so that comes from
older
that show.
man.
So that's another example of how it looks like. But, at times it looks like that, and at the times it looks very shadowy and very dark.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very complex this conversation is. But let's hear your thoughts on it at Channel Africa 1. Also, if you come from maybe traditional, cultural, or even just community aspects that normalize this practice, maybe let us know, and how people in that particular community, people in those families really interact with this particular practice. At Channel Africa 1 is where you can find us, and you can send us a voice note on our WhatsApp on +2763 406 9126.
She builds, she leads, she rises. This August, join Channel Africa in celebrating the women who shape our communities, shift narratives, and carve out a future on their own terms.
These women together ought to be able to turn it right again.
From Cape Town to Kigali, Lagos to Lusaka, African women are rewriting the script. Here's to courage, creativity, and unstoppable progress. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
9 to 12 midday Central African time. On the Move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama. Benjamin Moshatama and Palesa on the move.
Anybody who won't fight you, may they come, they already know. I'll be right beside you, like the wall of Jericho. They don't know, they don't know, they don't know what's going on. Monagiso, my baby boo. I'll be a soldier for you. I'm getting better in Kung Fu. You should know I got it, and you don't need to guide me too. I'll be right beside you in anything that you do. If you ever need saving, I will be running to you, running to you. I'll be running to you, running to you. Anywhere that you go to, running to you. I'll be running to you, running to you. Anywhere that you go to.
When I'm looking for trouble, it's cause I know that I got you. Wanting more best everybody, and it's because of your kung fu. And anytime that I'm out of control, you hold me down. You never let go. Yeah, Munagiso, my baby boo. See all the battles you'll be fighting, and I'll be right there with you. I may be small, but I'm mighty, and I go running for you. And anybody waves I be, yeah, don't be you, pull it, I be, alright. And if I ever need saving, I'll be running to you.
Running to you. I'll be running to you, running to you. Anywhere that you go to, running to you. I'll be running to you, running to you.
You go there for
anywhere that you go to. You don't need to worry, anything you want.
Sun up to sundown, love me no go round down.
Hey, anytime you call me, baby, I go answer.
Any other brother, baby, you make them run away.
And if you want me coming to you, I go come to you.
Oh, you wanna see me, baby, don't choose me.
Tell me what you want, baby, say I'm not in my heart.
Are you baby? Are you baby?
Hey, that's Chikia with one titled Running to You. It is 53 minutes past 9 o'clock Central African time. And we're moving the conversation into the second hour. And that's what's coming up. Gardening in terms of vegetable gardening in our cities. Something that's growing. I find it very difficult to do. So I feel like I need someone to help me do it.
Yeah.
I've been kind of like researching this. And I think someone has to start you off, don't you think, buddy?
I think so. Yeah. Personally, yeah. But like, I'm a city girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, my home is in the city. Luckily, there is enough space for like a garden where I grew up, etc.
Mm-hmm.
My mom has very green fingers.
Oh,
like
wow.
anything she plants will grow.
Did you inherit them, no way?
Apparently not. You know what? I always thought, you know, once I move into my own space, I'd like to do that. And the first space that I moved into had a small balcony, and the lady who I was renting from had, you know, one of those boxes outside on the balcony where you can plant, like a planter, a nice little planter box.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like so excited. Yes, I'm gonna start planting things. I started, but everything died. I don't think I have the patience to have those green fingers. But now I do have my own little garden.
Okay.
And I'm trying. The only thing that's really caught on right now are the onions. So my onions are growing.
Okay.
They're looking pretty nice.
There you go.
And it's the first thing that I've actually been able to grow outside.
Did you get like
other than a human.
seedlings, or did you just generate it from the waste?
Here's my gardening. The way I garden.
Just throw things.
There was Yeah, there was an onion that I hadn't used, half an onion, and I just threw it in the garden.
Yes.
And that's how I've been doing things. I've just been
you are
throwing
not-
random
so
things
you're not
in there.
gardening, you
No.
are throwing things
Yes, I'm just throwing things in there and hoping something grows.
All right, maybe we'll get better advice from Joy Pala on this one from Organic Kitchen Garden to see how we can actually shape our urban gardens. And I don't think it's an urban thing. I think also in our rural areas, farming is still something that's relevant here on the African continent. But it's getting it right? It's getting our fingers green, as Palesa is saying. But sometimes I think that's part of the process, Pali, what you're saying, that it is actually random and at times it's just experimental. You have to start in an experimental way like you are.
Yeah, well, I'm enjoying the experimenting so far, and I hope things grow properly in the end. But right now, I'm not sure. The onion is doing great. I'm happy.
Okay.
I show people my onion every day because the first thing I've really successfully grown.
Every day.
Every day. Do you want to see my onion? It's grown 5 centimeters today.
All right, we're looking forward to that one. We'll be chatting a little bit about rooftop gardens in our cities. There's also vertical farming that we know about that looks very different in different urban environments, right? And that's what's coming up on the show. Let's take a bit of a break. We'll be back.
Only things to want, one more want, only car to want, Kachakujo, Balam, Alhamdulillah, oh me for dada, yeah. I'm a girl, I walk, I don't walk in toast, but you power sporty, well you zero shorty, what you want, I'm on 2, only call a mura, Kiriwa, they give him baby. Twerk your body, twerk your body, Hollywood, down, twerk your body, twerk your body, Isakaba, give me your Bagasio. Your body looking like tsunami, explosive Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Plenty of money, don't make me miscalculate. Don't make me over the pay. Don't make me the misbehave. It with them If you don't make a man go, again pepe. I got me your chase. Baby feeling the boy like Oleku. I saw the away, dio. Oh yeah, see the way our body twerk your body, baby, twerk your body,
It's Kiss Daniel featuring Davido. It's the remix of Dwe Dwe coming to you right here on Channel Africa, giving you that African perspective. We're wrapping up this hour of the show right here on the Move. And of course, going into the next 2 hours, do join us. We are live on YouTube. We are at Channel Africa 1 there. So easy to search, easy to find. You can also find us on Facebook, just Channel Africa. We're live. You get to hang out with us here in our studios. It's actually quite fun, especially when we're engaging with you on those live streams. Go on the live stream, comment, let us know where you're tuned in from, and of course engage in the conversations of the day. In the first hour, we're speaking about a very interesting and complex conversation of incest, but we're going to be moving into speaking about urban gardening. Are you someone who's been interested in urban gardening, and how is it working for you? I mean, I've been getting interested in that, and I saw a lady who's an urban gardener who has oranges and lemons in South Africa, in the city. And I'm like, this is incredible. So anything is possible. We're chatting about that just in a couple of minutes. For now, let's go back to our news desk where Onel Nzinzi has our latest news update.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Palesa. Looking at your top stories, Burkina Faso sentences 13 people to life imprisonment for act of terrorism, and the Israel Defense Forces negotiating a phased return of the hostages from Gaza. Your latest news. Greetings to our listeners. Burkina Faso has sentenced 13 people to life imprisonment for acts of terrorism, including a 2018 attack against the French embassy. More than 60 others were given lesser jail terms. This is according to an official statement released yesterday by a specialist anti-terror judicial office. The West African nation has been battling jihadist violence for around a decade that the junta, which came to power in a coup in September 2022, has struggled to contain. Africa political expert Kwezi Nkabisa explains.
One of the positive things that I take out of this particular development is that at least the administration in Burkina Faso wants to explore the path of an institutional response whereby there would be some form of legal process that would be processing individuals who might have engaged in activities that fall outside the normal criminal code. So I think it's something positive as to the integrity of that legal process. That is something that we still have to process and look at, but perhaps.
The Umkhonto Sizwe party in South Africa has turned to the High Court in Pretoria in an urgent bid to revive its challenge against President Cyril Ramaphosa's decision to place the Police Minister Senzo Mchunu on a leave of absence. This after the Constitutional Court refused the party's direct access in July, citing that the matter did not fall within its exclusive jurisdiction. Kenny Mapanga reports.
The party seeks to invalidate President Ramaphosa's related decisions, that is to place Mchunu on a leave of absence, the appointment of Prof. Faraz Kachalia as acting Minister of Police, and the establishment of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Former President Jacob Zuma in an affidavit argues, among other things, that the quote-unquote leave of absence maneuver is unprecedented and that it can never be to the benefit of the people to pay two ministers occupying the same portfolio. As a result, the MKP seeks to have the president's three related decisions reviewed and set aside. Kani Mapanga, SABC News, Johannesburg.
The Solidarity Movement, a coalition of African rights organizations, including AfriForum and Solidarity in South Africa, has announced its withdrawal from this weekend's first session of the National Dialogue. The organizations claim the African National Congress Party has hijacked the dialogue to advance its own agenda. The National Dialogue got up to a shaky start, with legacy foundations withdrawing and objections over its funding and the cost of hosting it. Werner Humans is the head of operation at the Solidarity Movement.
The reason why community-based dialogues are much more effective is because when dialogue takes place on a community level, it means that you are very close to the specific issues that that community face. And also the participants are obviously people from that specific community. And it would mean that when one tries to seize an opportunity to address a problem, it will be much more effective. What we have here is this lopsided attempt from this massive central government that we have, trying to control and direct and dictate things from a central level, but they are very far from the problems.
The South African anti-migrant group Operation Dudula says it will continue blocking foreign nationals from accessing public healthcare services in the country. This follows the release of its members who were arrested in Soweto, south of Johannesburg, after questioning patients about their nationality and demanding identity documents. Operation Dudula President Zandile Tabula says foreign nationals need to pay for health services.
We do not want foreigners to be accessing our public healthcare facilities. If they need medical attention, they're more than welcome to go to private facilities and pay for them. Now, if we have a public facility that has a method of payment and tracking who this person is, which means that the person has come to the country legally, then we will not have a problem as long as they're going to pay for the services they receive. We don't have a problem.
Okay.
But if we are illegal, we don't want you near our clinics.
Lastly, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the Israel Defense Forces negotiating a phased return of the hostages from Gaza is now in the past. Netanyahu indicated that Israeli efforts were now focused on releasing all the remaining hostages at once. The BBC's Yolanda now.
After the last diplomatic attempts to reach a ceasefire and hostage release deal broke down, Israel announced its controversial plan to expand its military offensive in Gaza and fully conquer Gaza City. But with local media reporting it will be weeks before the new operation begins, mediators see a possible window for an agreement. The Egyptians have said they're again pushing for a 60-day truce. But last week, Arab officials were quoted as saying that they're working on a comprehensive deal to release all of the remaining hostages in one go, in return for a lasting ceasefire and the withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza.
Recapping on your top stories, Burkina Faso has sentenced 13 people to life imprisonment for acts of terrorism, including a 2018 attack against the French embassy. Now, for any news stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us at +27 11 714 4459. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Tsinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Hey, it's the second hour of On the Move. This hump day, it is Wednesday, and of course you're still tuned in to us. It's 6 minutes past 10 Central Africa time. Moving into a conversation about urban gardening. Do you have green fingers? The thing is, you might want to garden, and because it's trendy now, a lot of people are like, hey, we think we need solutions to the fact that food is becoming expensive, vegetables are becoming more and more expensive, and I think more people are just getting into growing their own food. But is your food even growing? If you're something like me, you don't have the most green fingers, but we're trying. We're trying, guys. We're just trying.
Throwing things in there. Hey?
Just throwing things in there. Yeah, I mean, the onion caught, so I mean, that's thumbs up for me. Something else might catch on. You never know.
Yeah, and all these ways of gardenings are actually versatile. There's rooftop gardens, there's balcony gardens, the also wonderful community gardens that we're seeing in some urban environments. It's very interesting. What I find very intriguing is that vertical gardening. I find that very tricky, and I think that's a bit of a science.
It is a bit of a science. I've seen them with those little white vertical thingy stands that go there, and then there must be an irrigation system and the wiring that goes in there. But also the you have to water things according to how they want to grow. It's complicated. Gardening is very complicated if you're someone like me. But there are other people who actually find it quite easy to do, especially because many of us aren't really in the rural parts of our countries anymore. We need to work, so we need to be closer to the inner cities. There isn't a lot of space, there isn't a lot of garden space, and sometimes all you have is concrete. How do you make that work?
Hey, it's also a way of connecting with our nature in some way here in urban cities, because we live in a landscape of just buildings. We'll speak to Joy Pala, landscape designer, indoor plant stylist, and founder of Organic Kitchen Garden, a little bit more to find out how do we start, and how can we start in a simple way where we can keep some form of consistency. But I think it's also an area of learning as well. So we'll find out a little bit more in a few minutes time. You're listening to us on DSTV channel 802, OpenView 628, www.channelafrica.co.za. It's also where you can stream us. Don't forget the SABC Plus app.
Are you fluent in French, Chinyanja, Portuguese, and Kiswahili? Are you passionate about radio? And are you looking to work in South Africa? Do you have papers that qualify you to work in South Africa? In that case, we might have an opportunity for you to work for Channel Africa. Send us your CV and demo at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Remember, if you don't hear from us within 14 days, it means you have not made it or you have not been selected. Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
Ukatili wa kijinsia unaharibu maisha na kutenga jamii. Hutokea nyumbani, shuleni, kazini na mara nyingi kwa ukimya. Lakini hauwezi kuendelea ukiona ongea. Ikiwa unaumia, funguka, kwa sababu kutofanya lolote sio chaguo. Sikiliza vituo vyote 19 vya redio kuanzia Jumatano ya tarehe 23 Julai kwenye mijadala, ushauri, tamthilia, maonyesho ya elimu na mahojiano na wataalamu, manusura, watunga sheria na nchi nzima iliyoathirika na ukatili wa kijinsia kwenye vituo vyako pendwa vya redio. Piga simu 0800 428 ili kuripoti unyanyasaji au kupata msaada. GBV ikomeshwe na wewe. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwenu na shirika la SABC.
AUSISA, the Association of Water and Sanitation Institution of South Africa, is a platform uniting Africa's water professionals. This November, Africa leads the conversation on water and sanitation. Join global and African leaders at the AUSISA Africa and Global South Dialogue 2025 from the 9th till the 12th of November at the Emperor's Palace, Johannesburg. From policy innovation, this is where action meets collaboration for a water-secure future. Register today at ausisa-watersan-dialogue.org or follow at AUSISA on social media. AUSISA, working together for sustainable water and sanitation security in Africa. Keeping you on the know and on the move.
Ukulubhlakani, ukululisa la ngoba usiso phaka
This is Nomfundo More, this one titled Izbusi. So you're still tuned in to On The Move right here on Channel Africa. From rooftop gardens in our bustling cities to vertical farms on balconies, urban dwellers like yourself and me are discovering creative ways to grow fresh produce. I'm an urban dweller, for real, and I don't have green fingers, but we are trying to find creative ways to grow our own produce, even in the smaller spaces. And I'm sure there's so many contributing factors to why we're starting to see this trend. We're exploring how small space farming is reshaping urban landscapes, and joining us on the line is Joy Phala. Joy Phala is a landscape designer, an indoor plant stylist, and founder of Organic Kitchen Garden. Joy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for the invite.
You know, Joy, I really struggle with this one because I've been trying, but I don't know if I have the right combination of green fingers to be growing things indoors. But I mean, me aside, let's speak about why this trend is growing. Why do you think more and more people are interested in growing their own fresh produce?
I think it's accessible. You know, it's really one of the easiest way to introduce yourself to gardening. But I think in general, people are more conscious of the impact of mental health on, or rather the impact that gardening has on mental health. And one of the easiest ways to get into gardening is to, you know, start a little pot herb garden. And easiest way to really introduce yourself to gardening is to grow food in pots and containers, technically urban gardening. So the trend is also quite popular at the moment because, you know, of shows like Love with Meghan Markle's shows.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like
yes.
Martha Stewart, Oprah. So a lot more people are going back to the basics because really this is how we grew up. It's just that somewhere along the way we lost the trend. Yeah.
The examples that you made are very intimidating, you know, Joy, because those gardens that I've seen from Mergen's home, they are very extravagant and they look very professional. And that's maybe at times where we start. We start from the intimidating space. We're like, I'll never get it done. It looks so difficult. What's the easiest way to start your own urban garden?
You know, herbs are really, really easy and they are such a quick confidence booster because they're generally items that are not tricky to grow. You're also not expecting like fruit, you know, they're not generally fruit producing kind of plants, and because of that there's a lot less pressure. So anything leafy, anything greens, anything herbs is the easiest starting point when it comes to urban gardening. So starting a little herb garden in a few pots on your balcony, choosing the sunniest spot on your balcony is really going to be a nice quick also gratifying way to introduce yourself into gardening in general.
Joy, do you think that urban gardening is a good economic indicator? Is fresh produce getting so expensive that people are starting to say, hey, I need to actually do this on my own?
I'll tell you one of the reasons that got me started. So I was a new mom. I was at home with my kids and it was quite a challenging transition, but also I started cooking at home a lot more. And what I found is that some of the ingredients that we get from the store are not in the best shape. And it's just really simple logistical reasons, right? They've had to travel for a long time. They've stayed in storage for a while. So they're not going to be the freshest produce that you're going to access. The other thing is that some ingredients are just not available, right? If you think about purple carrots, for example, now it's a little, you can find a few outlets where you'll get purple carrots, but it's not something that you wake up in the morning and then you're at the spa and then there they are, and when they're there, it's like a special occasion. So when things are not available, when produce is not available in the right quality, when you know that you can easily access, premium greens or premium lettuce right by your doorstep, that becomes a more convenient way to access produce. It even stops being about whether you've got the money or you don't have the money or you don't have the time. It's really, I think we are transitioning also more away from quick gratification into the slow life, the more richer kind of lifestyle, the more intentional type of lifestyle. So as we're moving more intentionally in general, we are more cognizant of what we put in our bodies.
Sure.
We are just a lot more aware. Correct. Yeah.
Joy, let's take a bit of a break. We'll come back and maybe get some practical tips. I like the tip that you just gave us around. Maybe we can start with herbs. I think herbs are fantastic because that's where you can regulate your first relationship with vegetation, because they're easier. You don't always have to be there, but you can monitor them now and then. How do you move into a more sustainable way of keeping your vegetable garden? We'll speak more on that. We're speaking to Joy Phala, landscape designer, indoor plant stylist, and founder of Organic Kitchen Garden. We're speaking about vertical farms on balconies. We're speaking about our gardening in urban environments. We'll continue after this break.
Ahoy, matey!
Captain here to help, right, boys?
Set sail with us on a digital voyage like no other. Channel Africa has a treasure trove of awesomeness. That is our website and social media pages.
Tell me, why are you here?
We want you to be part of our adventure.
The winds are changing, Captain. And this time...
Imagine a world where curiosity knows no bounds, where entertainment meets enlightenment, and where every click leads to the African perspective. Visit us on our website, www.channelafrica.co.za, or follow us on Instagram or on X at Channel Africa 1. Go on, like us on Facebook at Channel Africa 1. So, spread the word. Tell a friend that Channel Africa's online variety is what they need on the web. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Download the SABC app and take Channel Africa with you everywhere you go.
The SABC is pleased to announce the launch of the new self-registration platform. Vendors wishing to do business with the SABC can self-register on our internally developed platform. Vendors are able to access this platform on our website, www.sabc.co.za/SABC/ under e-tenders, or self-register at etender.sabc.co.za/ and follow the prompts. Visit SABC social media pages for more details.
Step into the heart of the day on the move with Palesa and Benjamin.
All right, Joy is joining us from Organic Kitchen Garden. We're speaking about urban gardening. It looks different for different people. Balcony gardens, rooftop gardens, community gardens, vertical gardens. There's also that thing that many people do that's also called container gardening. In fact, that actually happens in many households, but from a micro perspective. Let's talk a little bit about the opportunities, Joy, in the different ways that we can farm from a city communal aspect.
Oh, absolutely. Look, when I started, I literally, we were living in a flat, and I basically had a conversation with my landlord, and I said, can I take over it was sort of the laundry area, because it was like the sunniest spot and it had the bigger space.
Oh,
right?
nice.
So
That's brave of you.
And I was just like, look, we will share the produce, but I need more space, because I had started on my balcony and I realized that I just needed a bigger space with more sun exposure. So look around your space. The one of the most key things with growing food is correct lighting. So all plants have like a sensitivity to light, and the more rather, let me say, edible foods tend to want more sun energy than typical indoor plants. So the sunnier the spot is, the better. Of course, there are other plants that can survive in about 3 to 5 hours of direct sunlight, and there we are leaning more on the herbs and the greens. But if you're going to be doing things like tomatoes or potatoes or carrots or garlic, you need at least 6 hours of direct sunlight. So planning your space is one of the most important things that you can do to set yourself up for success. And I could also say, abide by the seasons. I remember the first year when I started, I had grown tomatoes over the winter. Look, they survived. Okay. So by the time we had spring, I had some pre-grown, really beautiful tomato plants, but keeping them healthy over a winter season was just a lot of work. So abide by the seasons. Everything that's been grown in summer, do the summer things. If you are in winter, grow winter produce. It's so much easier. You're not going against the grain or against the curve. You are moving correctly with the rhythm of the seasons.
So let's speak about a starter pack. Every time someone wants to start something, they're like, how do I put this together? What would be the best starter kit for someone to go out to the shops and buy when they're starting their urban gardening?
A few things. You need pots. What I'm assuming is that, urban lifestyle, rooftop, like you're saying, or a vertical garden, or you are on your balcony, you need pots, right? The bigger the pots, the better. And maybe, 2 or 3 big planters is better than 10 small pots, because managing 10 small pots is a little bit stressful. But managing 3 big pots is a lot easier. The other thing is the size of your pot. Just keep in mind that the bigger the pot, the more easier to maintain as well, because it doesn't dry out faster. You're not having to water all the time. So the size of your pot is very important. Go for seedlings. And I say seedlings because when you start with seedlings, you're starting with a plant that's already there, as opposed to starting things from seed. Okay, starting things from seed is a little bit more tricky if you're a beginner. Go to the nursery and get like a 6-pack of seedlings, or one of those herbs in pots, for example, because then you are getting something that's already pre-produced. It will boost your confidence when you put it there in your pot, and then you can see, when you start seeing the first few leaves of growth, your confidence is just going to soar, and it will encourage you to expand even more. I would also say that your potting soil or your potting mix is very important. The easiest way to do this is to incorporate 50% compost and 50% potting mix. When you get to the nursery and you're asking about all these products, they will know how to help you. So your pot, your mix, and start with some starter plants as opposed to seeds.
And also, let's talk about what not to do and what types of things not to plant, because some things can get out of control. I know there are areas in which you can't plant certain things because they might affect your neighbor. The root system might actually travel to the neighbor's environment. What are the not to do's?
So in an urban garden, the fantastic thing about growing things in pots is that there are almost no restrictions, right? So for example, if we were to plant a tree, let's say this is an invasive tree, and we know that it's invasive and we're putting it directly in the ground, and we know that the roots are going to go into the neighbor's yard, we don't worry about that in a pot because everything is constricted. The only thing that I would say is understand the individual herbs, because some herbs don't like being incorporated with other plants. So for example, mint is one of those that I would plant in its own separate container because it tends to overtake the entire pot. So that one is okay on its own. But everything else, honestly, can be mixed in quite happily. Also, when you are planting your veggies and your greens and your herbs, incorporate ornamental plants. And by ornamental plants, I mean like flowers, your favorite flowers that you know are going to be compatible with whatever it is that you're planting in the pot. So for example, if you're doing lettuce, and this is a fantastic time of the year to do lettuce, I would incorporate some violas, these little edible flowers that you see sometimes garnished on a 5-star restaurant plate type thing. So those would go really beautifully with your lettuces. The other reason why you want to incorporate ornamental plants is because the more diversity there is in your pot, the more strength there is. So plants protect each other against pests and disease by exchanging chemicals with each other. They become a nice, knit, strong, close community. So the more diversity there is in your pot, the easier it will be to maintain that pot. But also a nice full pot means that sun is not directly, drying out your soil and you're not having to water all the time.
Well, Joy, with all this information, I think my not so green fingers are going to start being green. I'm going to take all of this into consideration and try harder. Thank you so much for joining us. And hopefully many people out there have gotten the right tips to start their own urban garden.
It's an absolute pleasure.
That's landscape designer, indoor plant stylist and founder of the Organic Kitchen Garden, Joy Phala, speaking about urban gardening. It's 10:30 Central Africa time. Musi Budi Makura is back with our latest sports.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you so much, Palesa. Kenya's upcoming African Nations Championship clash against Zambia will be played in front of a reduced crowd after repeated stadium invasions by home fans at Nairobi's Kasarani Stadium. So the Confederation of African Football has fined the Football Federation of Kenya $17,000 and capped attendance to 27,000 e-ticket holders, down from the stadium's Chan capacity of 48,000. The move follows chaotic scenes at previous matches where ticketless fans stormed the gates, prompting widespread condemnation online. Now, physical tickets will no longer be accepted and security will be on a high alert. Despite the restrictions, all tickets for Sunday's match were sold out within hours of going on sale. So Kenya currently leads Group A with 7 points, and a win over Zambia in the next 2 days will secure them a home quarter-final position. Meanwhile, defending champions Senegal were forced to settle for a 1-1 draw against a determined Congo side in the second Group D fixture at the Chan tournament in Zanzibar. Now, Deshan Musa Voyo's early strike gave Congo a surprise lead, but Joseph Layose salvaged a point for the Teranga Lions side with a second-half equalizer at the Amam Stadium. The result now leaves Senegal on 4 points from 2 matches, with Congo on 2 ahead of tonight's other group clash between Nigeria as well as Sudan. Onto this now, having played 2 matches just 72 hours apart, Molefenzeki, who is the head coach of South Africa's Chan team, has now placed the ball in his physical training department to get the players back up to scratch as they enjoy a slightly longer window for their next game. So Bafana drew 1-1 with Algeria last week Friday. They went on to beat Guinea by 2-1 on Monday. They face off with Niger this coming Friday.
The recovery turnaround period was a bit short for us, looking into the intensity of the last game we played. But Guinea also played the same and they lost 3-0. So from our side, when it comes to our physical recovery and game readiness, we are looking deeper into our readiness. So we are looking into the next 3 days before we play Niger. So our physical conditioning coach and our medical team will have to work on the players.
Onto this now. American Fred Curley, a two-time 100-meter Olympic medalist, has been provisionally suspended for failing to notify anti-doping officials of his whereabouts, according to the Athletics Integrity Unit. Curley, who took 100-meter silver in Tokyo and then a bronze medal last year in Paris, as well as the 2022 World 100-meter crown, was suspended for failing to comply with the anti-doping whereabouts obligations. Now, elite athletes have strict requirements after informing anti-doping officials about their locations, such as at training camps or when traveling, and must also provide a time as well as location each day to comply with rules regarding unannounced doping tests. And finally, Armand Duplantis broke the men's pole vault world record for a 13th time, the third this year, with a clearance of 6.29 meters at the Hungarian Grand Prix. The 25-year-old double Olympic as well as world champion cleared 6.28 meters at the Stockholm Diamond League meeting in June, but then he surpassed that figure with his second attempt in Budapest on Tuesday. Duplantis first broke the world record held by Frenchman Runard Laveny 6 years ago, where he held that record for about 6 years. He broke that record in February of 2020 with a 6.17 meter clearance in Poland. Now, his trademark is a progress rather. His trademark is to progress the record by 1 centimeter increments. On Saturday, he competes at the Silesia Diamond League in Poland, where he also broke the world record just last year. Well, that concludes the sports news this hour. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
She builds, she leads, she rises. This August, join Channel Africa in celebrating the women who shape our communities, shift narratives, and carve out a future on their own terms.
These women together ought to be able to turn it right again.
From Cape Town to Kigali, Lagos to Lusaka, African women are rewriting the script. Here's to courage, creativity, and unstoppable progress. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
All right, let's move on now to our business news with Chanduko Ligeke.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin. Good morning. South Africa's Minister of Small Business Development, Stella Ndabeni, has emphasized the limited participation of small businesses in both regional and global markets. Speaking at the 2025 Pakistan-South Africa Trade Summit, she identified key barriers such as limited access to finance, inadequate infrastructure, and the shortage of effective business development agencies as major challenges. Innocent Samosa has more.
Pakistan is known to be a global player in textile and leather, while South Africa has a robust commercial infrastructure and regional distribution channels. The chairman of Pakistan-South Africa Trade Federation, Rafiq Memo, says effective trade zones, co-branding and professional sourcing arrangements can expand market access between the two countries.
As the world is grappling with a number of challenges, including the recent sweeping tariffs from the U.S., the Africa 50 is hosting its shareholders meeting in Maputo, Mozambique. The event is expected to be addressed by Mozambican President Daniel Chapo. Africa 50 is one of the key institutions pushing for infrastructure development in Africa. Kaili Kumalo reports from Maputo.
A very important event is happening here. So it's hosted by Africa 50 alongside the Mozambican government. So it comes amid all the global uncertainties emanating from the tariffs in the US. So it's all about crafting the internal mechanisms to cushion and make sure that the infrastructure rollout, for example, is one of the biggest really endeavors for the African continent.
The South African Federation of Trade Unions, SAFTU, has slammed the national dialogue that kickstarts this Friday at Matthews Hall, Unisa in Pretoria. SAFTU General Secretary Zulinzima Vavi has branded the dialogue as a waste of time. Last week, 7 legacy foundations withdrew from the dialogue and claimed it had been compromised. Vavi says the national dialogue will not meet the demands of the working class.
The national dialogue is a diversion. It's a waste of time talk show that is not going to produce the results, that is not going to meet even the most basic demands of the working class for jobs at a decent wage and all of that. We are now doubtful that we will attend this one on Friday, because we've been reluctant players in the beginning.
The union is also proposing that the country should hold a presidential economic summit to tackle the unemployment rate in South Africa. The unemployment rate has increased from 32.9% in the first quarter to 33.2% in the second quarter of 2025. SAFTU spokesperson Newton Masuku says the situation will worsen with the new US 30% tariffs increase.
Called for an emergency presidential economic summit, which will bring together trade unions, progressive economists, and affected sectors to develop a united sovereign response. Secondly, we have called for the diversification of trade, centering in particular the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, the BRICS partners, and also global South economies to reduce reliance on hostile markets. When the 30% Trump tariffs take effect, this situation will worsen.
De Beers joint venture in Angola has discovered a new kimberlite field, the most common source of mined diamonds. This is its first such discovery in 3 decades. The Anglo-American is jointly exploring for diamonds in Angola in partnership with the country's state-owned diamond company, Ndiama. In a statement, De Beers says the joint venture had hit kimberlite in its first drill hole into a high-priority cluster of targets in July 2025. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 535. In Botswana, 13 pula 33. Kenya, the dollar is at 128 shilling 429. Zambia, 23 kwacha 14. BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is at 5 real 42. Russia, 79 rubles 58. India, 87 rupees 63. China, 71 18. South Africa, 17 rand 65 cents. $1 is 74 pence to the British pound and 85 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is at $3,360, platinum at $1,345 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil, $66.04 a barrel. That is all for now. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chandruko Ligege.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa. It's time to plug into the heartbeat of the continent. Tune in to Channel Africa, your go-to radio station that broadcasts in 5 different languages.
L'Afrique du Sud célèbre la journée nationale du
Kabla hujaitwa kwa jina la Double K
or more of our forests have been destroyed.
Tamo
Partido Africano da Independência da Guiné.
See, Channel Africa represents every corner of this amazing land. From Lagos to Cape Town, Nairobi to Dakar, we've got you covered with the freshest news, music, and cultures. So, turn up the volume, feel the rhythm. Enjoy the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Tune in and turn up the volume. This is Channel Africa. Benjamin Moshatama and Palesa on the move.
It's MFR Soul, $2 Human, and DJ Maporisa featuring Chadley. This is Aziz right here on Channel Africa. It's 10:46 Central Africa time. We're speaking about urban gardening, and it's something that many people are just trying to get into. Ben, why do you think more people are looking for like that slower garden lifestyle? Are we drained out by the city so much that we are escaping into our gardens?
Is it not something that we felt like post-COVID? I feel like, COVID changed us,
Yeah,
it like
did.
As much as we
COVID changed us a lot.
I know it didn't. We've moved on. We haven't actually.
Yeah.
I think that slow living has permeated into the new, and we love that experience of chilling. I think we learned a few lessons there. As much as it was a struggle to go through what we were going through during that period. But after that, we saw the benefits somehow of that slowness, what it did for our lives, how it connected us to where we are from home. You know, some of us weren't spending time at home. Some of us were just always out and about. Home was just to sleep.
Even like eating takeaways and things.
Yes,
and when
absolutely.
COVID hit, there were no takeaways.
Yeah.
There was nowhere to go, and we needed to be here. But also, we were running out of some of the things that we were used to getting so conveniently.
So when it comes to plants and vegetation, that's when we started bringing even plants into our homes, remember?
Yes.
All of a sudden, everyone had plants in their homes because they wanted to feel a little bit like they're outside.
Yes.
And I think some of that has kept us going even post-COVID.
That's why people must say you must go out and touch grass, because like the city can be so overwhelming. Our lives are so busy. We're getting up, we're going to work. What's next? What's going on? Who am I meeting? And when you can get to connect, that moment of connecting with nature, even if it's through a pot plant or a little herb, it still makes you feel like you're connected with nature or the outside world in some kind of way.
But also it's fascinating because more of us are kind of wanting to control things a little bit more in our homes. I mean, what we eat, how we eat it is something that we're thinking about, just like Joy was saying. More and more people are not really satisfied what they're getting at the grocery shop. They're like, I think I can get something better out of my money. Maybe I should start doing it myself.
So how's your garden going?
My garden is a normal garden. I don't have
vegetation
vegetable yet, because
okay.
I think that's a different area where I need a little bit of help.
Herbs?
I don't have herbs yet, so
Okay.
it's just like flowers, whatever,
Yes.
shrubs. Yeah, that's what I kind of have in my garden. But I think when you move into vegetables, it's a different space that I'm not so clued about. So yeah, I'm still doing a little bit of research there.
Well, I bought spinach this week, and I think I'm gonna put some of it. So I want to cook it today, but I'm gonna put one of the spinach stalks. I'm gonna put one of them in my garden.
Listen, no.
It's gonna work.
Does it work?
Yes.
Who told you that works?
Look, the onion worked, Benji. The onion worked.
The onion works because I think it's because the onion is a root by itself.
Yeah.
So how will the spinach grow itself?
Is a stalk not
Okay.
not
I
the
don't know.
stalk
I'm
can
just
root.
asking. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna try it and I'll let you know in a few weeks how it's going.
Okay.
But that's exactly what I'm doing, right? I took some my little small tomatoes, my baby tomatoes.
Yeah, the seeds.
I just took the whole tomato
Okay.
and I put one in the garden, and I'm just hoping for something there too. And then I'm gonna put a spinach
You don't
stalk.
smash it or something. Maybe?
I opened it and then I put it inside. Yeah,
Because I'm like, you put the full thing in there. What's going on, buddy?
These things work. Trust me. Trust the process. It's
All right.
10:50 Central Africa time. How are you exploring your own urban garden?
Africa, meet Abedi.
Yeah, that's me.
Abedi is a music lover through and through.
I really love African music.
He's got a taste for all kinds of tunes and spends his days listening to Channel Africa. Guess what? He didn't know.
Okay.
Channel Africa wants to help Abedi and all music lovers everywhere to discover even more incredible music. That is why Channel Africa is calling on all African musicians to submit their music. Musicians, remember to give us all your relevant information. Make your submissions at music@channelafrica.co.za. Submissions are your chance to be heard on radio. But sadly, they do not guarantee that you will be playlisted. All submissions will be carefully reviewed to see if they meet our station's requirement. Channel Africa, the African perspective. The rhythm of Africa, the pulse of the continent. This is Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Hey, this is Ndawana right here on Channel Africa, giving you that African perspective. It's Shasha featuring Calvin Momo and Sykes on that one. 10:54 Central Africa time. Ben, you turned 40 this year.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a few months now. How many months? It's been 2 months now.
I think it's been a month.
It's been a month now. Does it feel any different?
Feels different, yeah, absolutely.
How does it feel different?
Just a sense of expectation is new. It's different. I feel refreshed. I feel like I'm kind of opening my eyes again. I'm trying to see life in a new, fresh sense. Yeah, 40 does something to you.
I love that. And they're very big milestones, right? Especially in the ages, especially if it comes to the 10. Yeah. The last year of any particular decade, so like 19, 29, 39, 49 would be the last year you're spending in that particular one. And you're expecting something big to happen once you jump onto that other side, whether 40 or 30. And so I found a TikTok of a lady who sort of describes what it's like on the other side and maybe the decisions that you're going to start making once you reach the other side of the age you're in. So if you're 29 and you're going to 30, if you are 39 and going into 40, listen to this.
Sure.
Hi, are you 29?
Yes.
Okay, so you're here to purchase the 30 package? Great. Which one are you interested in? Would you be able to give me some information on it?
Yeah, absolutely. I can go over them with you. So with package number 1, you're going to have a really good paying job. Like you're going to be able to survive, but you're also going to have terrible anxiety and really bad back pain.
That sounds terrible. Am I going to have a boyfriend?
It comes with about 2 dates per year and they're all going to suck.
No, I think I'll pass.
No, not that one. Okay. So with package number 2, you're going to be able to buy a house, but your taxes are going to go up like a ridiculous amount every single year to where you're going to have to work about 3 jobs. So by the time you turn 40, you're going to have been so exhausted that you forgot you didn't have kids. So now you're going to have your first kid at 40, but you'll have to buy that package later.
Absolutely
No.
not.
Okay. We're running out of options.
No.
We only have 4 packages. Okay, so let's see what I can do about package 3 because that one is... Okay, so you are going to have a boyfriend in package 3. He's not going to treat you very nicely and it's going to take you about 3 or 4 years to realize it. And then when you do realize it, then he's going to propose to try and manipulate you into staying.
Wow, the pessimism.
Is that something that you're interested in?
What's the job
With
situation?
this one, you have a decent paying job, but you do have to do some side work.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just because you're not going to be able to. Nobody can work one job anymore, sweetie. It's just not going to happen.
Is there an option to be like a sugar baby or something?
Oh, no, we don't have sugar baby options anymore. They want the 20s. Yeah, that's something you would have had to purchase in the 20s. Yeah.
Seriously?
Mm-hmm. So you don't want package number 3?
No, not at all.
Okay, we only have 1 package left. So package number 4 is not too bad. A lot of people don't like it because you are single for the most part. But you do have a good paying job. You have a house. You have 2 dogs. And let's see if we can do some add-ons. Do you like to travel?
Yes, I love it.
Okay, so let's add some traveling on here for you. Okay, let's add some traveling on there for you. You are not going to have a social life when you're home. All your fun is going to be had abroad.
Wow. So everything is like turns into this negative tone.
No, I feel like it's the pros and cons, right, of growing older. And if it was possible for us to actually learn what was going to happen in our lives in our 30s or in our 40s or in our 50s, I wonder which package we would choose.
Yeah, I don't know if I relate with any of that, because I loved my 30s. My 30s were probably the best moments of my life.
Yeah.
And they were just fantastic. And yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if I agree with her. Yeah, no. The 30s were the best. The 20s are also like wonderful because that's where you kind of just experimenting through everything, trying to figure everything out, trying to create some momentum for your life. I would do 20s any day again.
Would you?
Yeah, when I lived in Cape Town,
Yeah.
I started living on my own. I lived this adventurous life trying to figure out how to be responsible for myself. I love the 20s as well.
Yeah.
The 40s, I'm not quite sure. They are kind of different.
You just arrived.
Yeah, I've just arrived, but I've been enjoying the month. Yeah.
Yeah. I would never go back to my 20s.
Oh, yeah?
I think the 30s are the best years of my life right now.
Sure.
And in fact, I can't wait for my 40s. So I'm really enjoying growth in general.
Yeah.
If someone were to say, hey, do you want to swap your 30s for your 20s? No, thank you. That for me would be a threat. You'd be threatening my
in your
life.
20s,
I mean, they
buddy?
were okay, but they weren't amazing.
Okay.
The 30s are much more better than my 20s were. And so I would rather have the 30s. And I am really looking forward to the 40s as well.
Oh, nice one, man. What's your take on that one? Which age do you prefer, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s? I love both 20s and 30s. They both kind of complement each other for me. Bali likes the 30s. Give us your
Yes.
thoughts on our WhatsApp number, +27 634 69126, +27 634 69126. We've got a poll up on X. We'll let you know what it's all about. It's definitely on the conversation that's coming up. We'll give you an update on that one after the news update.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin. Looking at your top stories, Burkina Faso sentences 13 to life imprisonment for acts of terrorism, and the European leaders to hold a series of meetings today. Your latest news, greetings to our listeners. Burkina Faso has sentenced 13 people to life imprisonment for acts of terrorism, including a 2018 attack against the French embassy. More than 60 others were given lesser jail terms. This is according to an official statement released by a specialist anti-terror judicial office. The West African nation has been battling jihadist violence for around a decade. That the junta, which came to power in a coup in September 2022, has struggled to contain. Africa political expert Kwezi Mkabisa.
One of the positive things that I take out of this particular development is that at least the administration in Burkina Faso wants to explore the path of an institutional response, whereby there would be some form of legal process that would be processing individuals who might have engaged in activities that fall outside the normal criminal code. So I think it's something positive as to the integrity of that legal process. That is something that we still have to process and look at, but perhaps.
The Umkhonto Sizwe Party in South Africa has turned to the High Court in Pretoria for an urgent bid to revive its challenge against President Cyril Ramaphosa's decision to place Police Minister Senzo Mchunu on a leave of absence. This after the Constitutional Court refused the party's direct access in July, citing that the matter did not fall within its exclusive jurisdiction. Kenny Mapanga reports.
The party seeks to invalidate President Ramaphosa's related decisions, that is to place Mchunu on a leave of absence, the appointment of Prof. Faraz Kachalia as acting Minister of Police, and the establishment of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Former President Jacob Zuma in an affidavit argues, among other things, that the quote-unquote leave of absence maneuver is unprecedented and that it can never be to the benefit of the people to pay two ministers occupying the same portfolio. As a result, the MKP seeks to have the president's three related decisions reviewed and set aside. Kani Mapanga, SABC News, Johannesburg.
The Solidarity Movement, a coalition of African rights organizations, including AfriForum and Solidarity in South Africa, has announced its withdrawal from this weekend's first session of the National Dialogue. The organization claims the African National Congress Party has hijacked the dialogue to advance its own agenda. The National Dialogue got up to a shaky start, with legacy foundations withdrawing and objections over its funding and the cost of hosting it. Vada Humans is the head of operations at the Solidarity Movement.
The reason why community-based dialogues are much more effective is because when dialogue takes place on a community level, it means that you are very close to the specific issues that communities face. And also the participants are obviously people from that specific community. And it would mean that when one tries to seize an opportunity to address a problem, it will be much more effective. What we have here is this lopsided attempt from this massive central government that we have, trying to control and direct and dictate things from a central level, but they are very far from the problems.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the Israel Defense Forces negotiating a phased return of the hostages from Gaza is now in the past. Netanyahu indicated that Israeli efforts will now focus on releasing all the remaining hostages at once. The BBC's Yolanda Now.
After the last diplomatic attempts to reach a ceasefire and hostage release deal broke down, Israel announced its controversial plan to expand its military offensive in Gaza and fully conquer Gaza City. But with local media reporting it will be weeks before the new operation begins, mediators see a possible window for an agreement. The Egyptians have said they're again pushing for a 60-day truce. But last week, Arab officials were quoted as saying that they're working on a comprehensive deal to release all of the remaining hostages in one go, in return for a lasting ceasefire and the withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza.
And lastly, European leaders are to hold a series of meetings today, including with US President Donald Trump, to press the need to protect Ukraine's interests ahead of Friday's US and Russia summit. They are keen to ensure any concessions Trump might back in pursuit of a ceasefire do not compromise Ukraine's international borders or Europe's security. The BBC's James Waterhouse.
Currently, no European leader, including President Zelensky, has a seat at the table in Alaska on Friday. In his overnight address, Ukraine's leader said, "I don't know what they will talk about without us." He acknowledged several significant Russian advances in the Donbass region, which Russia mostly occupies, and has accused the Kremlin of trying to create its own information space ahead of Friday's summit. Moscow has in turn accused Kyiv of trying to disrupt the meeting. Donald Trump says he believes he really has a shot at peace by meeting his Russian counterpart.
Recapping on your top stories, Burkina Faso has sentenced 13 people to life in prison for acts of terrorism, including a 2018 attack against the French embassy. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Tsinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you so much, Onele. That's Onele Ntinti giving us the latest news there. We've got the On The Move poll running on our final hour conversation. What do you think girls are going through puberty earlier? Why do you think girls are going through puberty earlier? That's the question we're asking today. Giving you 1, 2, 3, 4 responses. Is it chemicals and pollution? That's an interesting one. Second option, diet and lifestyle. Third option is social factors. Last option is a mix of all factors. It's a mixed bag right now. We want to get your thoughts on that one. People have already started voting a few. Give us your thoughts. Remember that X handle is at Channel Africa 1. That's the handle to use when you want to find our X page.
Yeah, of course, through that poll, you'll understand that the conversation we're having in this hour of the show is that girls are getting puberty at much younger ages. Why is this? There's a growing concern from parents and guardians all across the world and across the African continent that say that puberty is starting much earlier for young girls. Typically begins around 10 to 14, but studies are showing that girls are hitting puberty much earlier at the ages of 6 or 7. So we're about to unpack that just in a bit. Stay with us right here on The Move.
Channel Africa and you have got something in common. The thirst for knowledge.
They tell me this, they tell me that. They say my bitch, say she a bad. Anytime I'm I knock it out. Rubber band, no rubber band. Every time I put down, it's on me that. If I know loud, she got my back. Although you cool, I'm happy that. Although you cool, say everything I do is for my woman. Anything I do when you talk, I go do, me, I know there's another girl for my visuals. Loving you, name my ritual. My girl got me, she no stingy. She give me love, so I'm content. All of them move, you been practicing. Put it on, stop me. Girl, give me love for my photo. Girl, you all night in my store. She have me gone, I'm on the score. She know they got you know so. Say anything I do is for my woman. Anything I do when you talk, I go do, me, I know there's another girl for my visuals. Loving you, name my ritual. I know they share my change. I know they like your pain. I get it make me see. She understand my pitch. Like Angela. Oh, Angela. Abubakar for her belly. My girl got no problem. Oh, all of a sudden, she said me a copy. And my colleague, okay, I'm baby. Oh, all of a sudden, she said me a copy. Two-face and my colleague, okay, I'm baby. Say anything I do is for my woman. Anything I do when you talk, I go do.
Hey, he's just released a new track with Davido. That's Omale. And this one is titled Woman, and very appropriate for Women's Month. And we're still celebrating the women of the continent. It's 10 minutes past 11 o'clock Central African time. We'll be back.
Africa. It's time to plug into the heartbeat of the continent. Tune in to Channel Africa, your go-to radio station that broadcasts in 5 different languages.
L'Afrique du Sud célèbre la journée nationale du
Kabla hujaitwa kwa jina la Double K,
or more of our forests have been destroyed. Partido Africano da Independência da Guiné.
See, Channel Africa represents every corner of this amazing land. From Lagos to Cape Town, Nairobi to Dakar, we've got you covered with the freshest news, music, and cultures. So, turn up the volume, feel the rhythm.
Comment ça va?
Enjoy the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Você é fluente em português? É apaixonado por rádio e quer trabalhar na África do Sul? Você tem documentos que o qualificam para trabalhar na África do Sul? Nesse caso, podemos ter uma oportunidade para você trabalhar no Canal África. Envie seu currículo e demonstração para Canal África @ newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Lembre-se, se você não receber alguma resposta nossa em 14 dias, isso significa que você não foi selecionado. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
Get set and be ready to go. On the Move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama.
Well, there's evidence suggesting that some girls in Africa, particularly in urban areas, are experiencing puberty at an earlier age than previous decades. Although there's still a little bit of work that needs to be done, research and more systematic data collection and research to fully understand this, there seems to be a trend that is happening in urban areas. It's not universal, it varies based on factors like location, socioeconomic status, and ethnicity. However, we have research in countries like South Africa that has shown a decline in the average age of first menstruation amongst urban black girls. But it's very different and it's very multi-hued on the African continent and how it looks like. To speak on this, we're joined by Dr. Jacqueline Kisianyale, who is working in Kenya's Ministry of Health in the Division of Maternal, Neonatal, Child and Adolescent Health. Dr. Jacqueline, welcome on the show.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
Let's start with this one. Is it a fact that girls in general are experiencing puberty, or is there a lot that still needs to be unpacked around this matter?
Yeah, this is actually very true, as you said, especially in the urban area. Mm-hmm. We are seeing a lot of obesity, and obesity does give excess body fat, which leads to increase of estrogen, which produces or triggers early puberty, and also endocrine disputing chemicals, which also trigger early puberty. These are found in products like cosmetic, plastic containers, pesticides, and those kind of things you find, which in the urban area, they're actually being used quite a lot. We also need to look at genetic. Family history plays a significant role, and diet and nutrition, processed food, sugar, unhealthy fats, which contributes towards obesity, and which leads to early puberty. Social influence, culture, expectation, media portrayals, that is social media, where you get like young children have access to maybe pornography or something which is so sexually oriented, and that also will influence their development into early puberty. Stress also is plays a big role. Chronic stress can impact hormonal imbalance and also develop potential which will lead to early puberty. And environmental factors like exposure to certain chemical pesticides and antibiotics, which are usually used in products like poultry and in meat or during the farming. So they use pesticides or antibiotics on products like the chicken, and all that will lead to early puberty.
Dr. Jacqueline, is there a reason why parents should be worried when they realize that their child is going through early puberty?
Yes, because we need to give our children life skills whereby they know what to do and what not to do. And also we have, as parents, we have to be present to parent our children, protect them, and provide knowledge, awareness on what can happen. Also, the government needs to step in because there is the HPV vaccine, which needs to be given to a 9-year-old according to the WHO guidelines. But if puberty starts around 7 years, then this child could be sexually active. And we are trying to prevent cervical cancer in future. And that will not happen because you cannot prevent after the child is already sexually active. We also need to look at our age-appropriate knowledge so that we can start early enough to pass this knowledge to our children as life skills so that they don't go into situations where they're sexual active and end up in unwanted pregnancy, HIV, and sexual transmitted diseases.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that element of access to sexual material. How is it related to puberty?
It triggers. You look at pornography. You activate some of these hormones. And either the child will start wanting to get involved in sexual activities. And that also triggers the hormonal production. Then the body starts developing now as a woman and the body does not relate with the mind because the body has already developed, but the mind is still for a child.
Yeah, I mean, that's so interesting. I mean, that also takes us back to a question maybe we didn't ask, and maybe my apologies that we didn't. What age is too early?
Age which is too early is around 6, 7.
Okay.
8. Okay, for girls, we look at as from 9 to 13. That's okay.
Okay.
For boys, 11 to 14, that's fine. But when it's too early, it's like around 6, 7, 8, and breasts have started developing, pubic hair has started growing, and men start looking at them in a different way. Like, this is not a child, this is a woman we can have sexual intercourse with.
Okay, we need to take a break. You're giving us some very interesting thoughts there and very important insights, because some of the indicators that you highlight are probably ones that we would take for granted. Stay there on the line, Doctor. We'll continue the conversation after the break. We're speaking to Dr. Jacqueline Kisia Nyale, working in Kenya's Ministry of Health in the Division of Maternal, Neonatal, Child and Adolescent Health. And we're speaking about why some girls, especially in the urban settings on the continent, go through puberty much earlier. We'll continue the conversation after the break. It's 20 minutes past 11 o'clock Central African time.
Africa, meet Abedi.
Yeah, that's me.
Abedi is a music lover through and through.
I really love African music.
He's got a taste for all kinds of tunes and spends his days listening to Channel Africa. Guess what? He didn't know.
Okay.
Channel Africa wants to help Abedi and all music lovers everywhere to discover even more incredible music. That is why Channel Africa is calling on all African musicians to submit their music. musicians, remember to give us all your relevant information. Make your submissions at music@channelafrica.co.za. Submissions are your chance to be heard on radio. But sadly, they do not guarantee that you will be playlisted. All submissions will be carefully reviewed to see if they meet our station's requirement. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
It's 21 minutes past 11 Central Africa time. You're tuned in to On the Move. We're speaking about why more and more young girls in the African urban settings are experiencing puberty early. And this is a very important conversation to have as, our guest has mentioned quite a number of contributing factors to early puberty. Dr. Jacqueline Kisia Nyale, working in Kenya's Ministry of Health in the Division of Maternal, Neonatal, Child and Adolescent Health, continues this conversation with us. Dr. Jacqueline, you gave us quite a number of contributing factors to early puberty: the food, the environment. You spoke about plastics and even an introduction to sexual content at a young age. When a parent sees that their child, who's maybe 6, 7, 8, like you mentioned, would be early puberty, has started their period or has started puberty, how can they pinpoint that contributing factor so they can add some lifestyle changes?
When that happens, it's very hard for a parent to pinpoint what exactly, because sometimes could be it's genetic, could be it's due to obesity. My advice is the parent should just be supportive, because some of these parents usually feel like this is a disaster.
Yeah.
How am I going to handle my kid, my baby, who is already a woman? Do I leave my job so that I can look after this girl or this baby 24 hours? I'll give you an example with myself. My daughter started developing at the age of 8, and me and the dad, we are both in the medical field, and we panicked. We were like, what has happened? There must be something wrong. We went to see an endocrinologist because we had panicked. Maybe she has some kind of disorder. And we were just told this is just early puberty. And as you can see, maybe you've been using a lot of processed food. There's a bit of obesity. So the fat also triggers some hormones, which will definitely lead to some of these body changes. The pubic hair, the breast development. And the doctor who we went to see was telling us, you just need to be supportive to your daughter, because once you make a wrong move, it will affect her all through her life. So my advice to parents, it's like to embrace, because it's already here. And if it's before that, try and go tradition food. And the processed food is not actually good for the human body. Like I would say in terms of when a child is growing up, because we're already dealing with a lot of obesity, lifestyle diseases. So if we start at that young age, we'll be dealing with a lot by the age of 30, 40, compared to now, where we are dealing with lifestyle chronic diseases at the ages of 50, 60.
And what would that support entail that you're talking about? Because, young girls and boys who are going through early puberty probably are going through a lot of emotional and psychological changes at that time of their age. What do you do to give them that support as a parent?
Just show them love. Tell them it's okay that their body is changing, and to talk to your child when he's being bullied in school, either by the teachers or by the peers, because a lot of bullying happens with their peers when they see like a girl has developed, started having breasts, and they would be like either tease her or sexually abuse her, especially when it comes to teachers, especially when it comes like to older students. They are on body shaming, or telling them that they're abnormal. So that affects it. It might look like a very short phase, but it affects them all through their lives to their adulthood, because such comments will really bring some mental issues, depression and anxiety.
You know, Dr. Jacqueline, there is the physical aspect, of course, of early puberty, but there's also the psychological aspect, which I think many parents and guardians would struggle with the most, because once you realize that your child is going through early puberty, these are 6, 7, 8-year-olds, they hardly know their numbers, they can hardly, read coherently at that time. How do you have a conversation with them so they can understand what's going on with their bodies? I'm sure it would be much harder to try and explain to a 6-year-old how to use sanitary towels.
I will talk about what we have done in the Ministry of Health in Kenya. We have developed a booklet which it's about understanding adolescence. And this is a booklet which an adolescents can read to understand their body. And we are in the process also of developing a parent, teachers, and caregivers guide on understanding adolescence. Apart from that, we get into forums where we create awareness on how to treat an adolescence. Even in our health facilities, we have youth-friendly or adolescence-friendly services facility where they are treated a bit different, away from the adults, and how to address their issues, because adolescents and youth prefer privacy. But remember, this 6-year-old, 7-year-old, and 8-year-old cannot come to a facility alone. This is a child. This is a baby. So we work with the community health promoters at the community level to educate the teachers, the parents, and the caregivers on how to treat adolescents. Self-care. What are the signs which you are going to look at and make sure your child is well taken care of? Let's say they start their menses early. Provision of sanitary towels, because poverty also, it's in Africa and it's everywhere. Some of these countries, you can't even get sanitary towels. So we talk to the parents in different forums, in churches, in mosques, in temples, in barazas, where the chief, the local leader is going to hold meetings. We try and bring up some adolescents, youth-friendly information.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for this very informative session. And I think it's great because you've been informing us as a medical professional, but also as a parent who has also experienced their child go through early puberty. It was also great to hear that one-on-one perspective of this conversation. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate.
That is Dr. Jacqueline Kisianyale, working in Kenya's Ministry of Health in the Division of Maternal, Neonatal, Child and Adolescent Health. The conversation there was early puberty for girls. That seems to be, more common in Africa, especially in Africa urban areas. It's 11:30 Central Africa time. Let's move on once again with our latest sports. Musibudi Makura is standing by.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you so much, Palesa, for the final time this morning. So having played 2 matches just 72 hours apart, Molefetseki, the head coach of the South African Chan team, has now placed the ball in the physical training department to get the players back up to scratch as they enjoy a slightly longer window to their next game. Bafana drew 1-1 with Algeria last Friday, then defeated Guinea 2-1 on Monday. They face off with Niger in their third match this Friday.
The recovery general period was a bit short for us, looking into the intensity of the last game we played. But Guinea also played the same and they lost 3-0. So from our side, when it comes to our physical recovery and game readiness, we are looking deeper into our readiness. So we are looking into the next 3 days before we play Niger. So our physical conditioning coach and our medical team will have to work on the players.
Meanwhile, pressed on what they need to improve on ahead of facing Niger on Friday night, Ntseki highlighted the defensive frailties.
We're not very compact in defending and stopping defense-splitting passes that were coming from the midfielders into the strikers. So the compactness was not there. There were too many gaps in between our players in defense. So I think the most important thing is for us to stay compact and to close the passing lanes so that we don't allow them to get into our defensive threat.
We'll stay with the Chan. Kenya's upcoming African Nations Chan clash against Zambia will be played in front of a reduced crowd. This after repeated stadium invasions by home fans at Nairobi's Kasarani Stadium. The Confederation of African Football has fined the Football Federation of Kenya $17,000 and capped attendance at 27,000 e-ticket holders only, down from the stadium's Chan capacity of 48,000. The move also follows chaotic scenes at previous matches where ticketless fans stormed the gates, prompting widespread condemnation online. Now, physical tickets will no longer be accepted and security will be on a high alert. Despite the restrictions, all tickets for Sunday's match were sold out within hours of going on sale. Kenya currently leads Group A with 7 points, and a win over Zambia could secure them a home quarter-final matchup. Well, defending champions Senegal, meanwhile, were forced to settle for a 1-1 draw against a determined Congo side in their second Group D fixture at the Chan tournament in Zanzibar. Now, Deshan Moussa Voya's early strike gave Congo a surprise lead, but Joseph Layose salvaged a point for the Teranga Lions with a second-half equaliser at the Amam Stadium. That result leaves Senegal on 4 points from 2 matches. And finally, American Fred Kerley, a 2-time 100-metre Olympic champion, has been provisionally suspended for failing to notify anti-doping officials of his whereabouts, according to the Athletics Integrity Unit. Now, Kerley, who took 100-metre silver in Tokyo and then a bronze medal at last year's Paris Olympic Games, as well as the 2022 World 100-metre crown, was suspended for failing to comply with his anti-doping whereabout obligations. Now, elite athletes have strict requirements about informing anti-doping officials about their locations, such as training camps or when they're traveling, and they must provide a time and location every day to comply with rules regarding unannounced doping tests. Well, that concludes your morning sports news right here in Channel Africa. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or give us a call. The newsroom line is +27 11714 4459. The time has just gone 11:35 a.m. Central African Time. More sporting updates coming up in the next hour for Channel Africa Sport. I am Mosibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. Africa. It's time to plug into the heartbeat of the continent. Tune in to Channel Africa, your go-to radio station that broadcasts in 5 different languages.
L'Afrique du Sud célèbre la journée nationale du
Kabla hujaitwa kwa jina la Double K,
or more of our forests have been destroyed. Partido Africano da Independência da Guiné.
Channel Africa represents every corner of this amazing land.
From Lagos to Cape Town,
Nairobi to Dakar,
we've got you covered
with the freshest news,
music,
and cultures.
So,
turn up the volume,
feel the rhythm. Enjoy the conversation.
Channel Africa,
the African perspective.
Hashtag on the move and connect with us.
Chanduko is joining us right now to give us our latest business news.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin. Let's start in North Africa. Egypt has signed an agreement with China's Silent Group to build an automotive tire factory in the Suez Canal economic zone with total investments of $1 billion. The project's first phase will be completed in 2026. The Egyptian automotive tire industry is experiencing significant growth fueled by rising vehicle ownership, increasing consumer awareness about tire quality, and infrastructure development. Egypt has been developing the automotive industry, including tire manufacturing, through programs like the Automotive Industry Development Program. In East Africa, Kenya's central bank lowered its benchmark lending rate by 25 basis points on Tuesday, saying there was room to ease monetary policy further as inflation remains well within target. The Central Bank of Kenya cuts its policy rate to 9.50% from 9.75% previously, the seventh cut in a row. The decision was in line with the median forecast in a Reuters poll of economists. South Africa's Minister of Small Business Development, Stella Ndabeni, has emphasized the limited participation of small businesses in both regional and global markets. Speaking at the 2025 Pakistan-South Africa Trade Summit, she identified key barriers such as limited access to finance, inadequate infrastructure, and the shortage of effective business development agencies as major challenges. Innocent Simosa has more.
Pakistan is known to be a global player in textile and leather, while South Africa has a robust commercial infrastructure and regional distribution channels. The chairman of Pakistan-South Africa Trade Federation, Rafiq Memo, says effective trade zones, co-branding, and professional sourcing arrangements can expand market access between the two countries.
The South African Federation of Trade Unions, SAFTU, has slammed the national dialogue that kickstarts this Friday at Matthews Hall, UNISA in Pretoria. SAFTU's General Secretary Zulinzima Vavi has branded the dialogue as a waste of time. Last week, the 7 legacy foundations withdrew from the dialogue and claimed it had been compromised. Vavi says the national dialogue will not meet the demands of the working class.
The national dialogue is a diversion. It's a waste of time talk show that is not going to produce the results, that is not going to meet even the most basic demands of the working class for jobs at a decent wage and all of that. We are now doubtful that we will attend this one on Friday, because we've been reluctant players in the beginning.
Meanwhile, SAFTU is proposing that the country should hold a presidential economic summit to tackle the unemployment rate in South Africa. The unemployment rate has increased from 32.9% in the first quarter to 33.2% in the second quarter of 2025. SAFTU spokesperson Newton Masuku says the situation will worsen with the new US 30% tariffs increase.
Called for an emergency presidential economic summit, which will bring together trade unions, progressive economists, and affected sectors to develop a united sovereign response. Secondly, we have called for the diversification of trade, centering in particular the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, the BRICS partners, and also global South economies to reduce reliance on hostile markets. When the 30% Trump tariffs take effect, this situation will worsen.
1 US dollar in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 535, in Botswana 13 pula 33, in Kenya the dollar is at 128 shilling 429, in Zambia 23 kwacha 14. BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is at 5 real 42, in Russia 79 rubles 58, in India 87 rupees 63, China 7 yuan 18, South Africa 17 rand 65 cents. $1 is 74 pence to the British pound and 85 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is at $3,360, platinum at $1,345 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is trading at $66.04 a barrel. That is all from me. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chandruko Ligege.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. The Upside. Your afternoons just got even better.
Bantu Biko Street by Simpiwe Dana. Ndi ready. Simpiwe, 20 years in song. So what emotions come up when you hear that, hey, you've been doing this for 20 years now?
It almost feels like no time has passed, eh? I just, I know obviously time has passed, but I don't feel it. Even about my age, I'm 45. I always get shocked when I think, oh my God, in 5 years' time, I'll be 50. Because for me as an artist, it's almost like when it comes to certain things, time stands still. And as a result, you find that a lot of artists are very childlike. And, it helps them to always have a fresh approach to issues.
I tell you what, I'm feeling healed just by that.
We take no sides, none whatsoever. We are the Upside.
The SABC is pleased to announce the launch of the new self-registration platform. Vendors wishing to do business with the SABC can self-register on our internally developed platform. Vendors are able to access this platform on our website www.sabc.co.za/SABC/ under e-tenders, or self-register at etender.sabc.co.za and follow the prompts. Visit SABC social media pages for more details.
The rhythm of Africa, the pulse of the continent. This is Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Mzee alisema hakuna cha bure. Huo msemo tumeutafsiri kinyume. Hata shule kuingiza mtoto lazima utoe mchoto. Kupata simu ni bala, road license bei nafuu tanunua. Kupoteza ID ni mashaka, twarudisha jamhuri yetu nyuma. Nchi ya kitu kidogo ni nchi ya watu wadogo. Ukitaka chai ewe ndugu, nenda Limuru. Hata nyumbani ukipatwa na majambazi, kupiga 99 masema sisi hatuna gari. Lete 5,000 ya petroli, saidia utumishi. Mahakamani hela ndiyo haki, kwa 1,000 mshtakiwa ndiwe mshtaki. Utajiri huwa ushahidi, twarudisha jamhuri yetu nyuma. Jamani, nchi ya kitu kidogo nchi ya watu wadogo. Ukitaka soda ewe inspekta, burudika na Fanta. Nchi ya kitu kidogo, nchi ya watu wadogo. Ukitaka chai ewe mama, nunua Ketepa. Huko Kenyatta madawa zimeisha, mashiti za uzwa marikiti 100 kwa 100. Wafanyi kazi waenda miezi bila pesa, ni bahati ukitibiwa. Mzigo wetu unazidi kuwa mzito, watoto wanena mshahara wa 2,500 ya vitabu na viatu na vyakula. Nauliza na mbotela tehuri ubana. Nchi ya kitu kidogo, ni nchi ya watu wadogo. Nitaka chai ewe ndugu, nenda Limuru. Nchi ya kitu kidogo, ni nchi ya watu wadogo. Nitaka chai ewe mama, nunua Ketepa.
Open Views Audio Bouquet. Channel 628. Get set and be ready to go. On the Move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama.
Yo yalla Lenamane ko banga Sayarmande atona Jekal malimaya Lima gente yemande Ya de buria aput dole Ya sama bolo Ya nyubole mo I'ma heal if you're like a ya mecho Ya vegito ya fi muche Ya nyo yore ya fe Señor mande ma I do dirty salad So to hard my best Moment le toñe Yore que di bobi Fete le chengorge Polek mo mi nefi Puro janta kwerbe Yore que di bobi Fete le chengorge Polek mo mi nefi Puro janta kwerbe Todo golpe gana Solo nefe nena ma Ma tek teguna fagam nane jamu gul Usirat taxawe bes bu jam ñepp diti sama xol bi dina sédé bëggon na yow nent bi fonkon na ñi ma mag dana bokko ni ma am ane sal ca waxtu ba donte xamna ma tuba yero mon na gone lol donte dama bari tooñ ate ma sa yermande ndax dama la réere woon Ma fanko waxtu duma nitu leer yàlla bu ma reba deeti bu sirata xawee bés bu jam ñepp diti sama xol bi dina seede Buguna yo nentube Dumane kuba Inaje mfonku wato Dumane tome Yalla bumare badeje Usirata hawe Mesbu jamye puditi Sama khol bi dina sede Buguna yo nentube
This is Baya Mass with Bir Senegal Stand Up. This one is from your country. Before that, we gave you Eric Wanaina with Nchia Kitu Kidogo, 11:51 Central Africa time. This is On the Move.
Africa. It's time to plug into the heartbeat of the continent.
Tune in to Channel Africa,
your go-to radio station
that broadcasts in 5 different languages.
L'Afrique du Sud célèbre la journée nationale du
Kabla hujaitwa kwa jina la Double K
or more of our forests have been destroyed.
Kama kulibwa nchi ndi Partido Africano da Independência da Guiné.
See, Channel Africa represents every corner of this amazing land.
From Lagos to Cape Town,
Nairobi to Dakar,
we've got you covered
with the freshest news,
music,
and cultures.
So,
turn up the volume,
feel the rhythm. Enjoy the conversation.
Channel Africa,
the African perspective.
Africa in Song with Chanduko Ligege.
This song has a line that I love so much in the isiXhosa language. It says, Andinayo nesentem daga. So I went down to the Eastern Cape. So I went to Yanga and said, Yanga, tell me here, what does Andinayo nesentem daga mean?
If I say Andinayo nesentem daga, it means that I do not have any money on me. I do not have money to give to you.
Interesting, because in Chivenda I would just say Atinana Peni Rocherwe. I wonder if you have that expression in your home language when you want to say you're broke, but in a very creative way. What do you say? I'd like to hear from you.
Africa in Song with Chanduko Ligege. Palesa and Benjamin fuel your day with fresh African perspective on Channel Africa.
Hey, children are a lot, right? After that conversation we had with our guest earlier on, when we were speaking about early puberty in girls and boys, it's because that, you know, we live in a time where you're not always in control. There's moments where they're out of sight. And at times when they're out of sight, they have devices. Some of the devices don't belong to them. They belong to friends. So they might be exposed to things that you're not in control of as a parent. And I think that's where it gets really tricky. But also the environment in our lives as well, because we just say, you know what, let's just do the takeaways. I don't have time. Just give them takeaways. You know, that's always the go-to.
The truth is things are different now, and in the way we eat is very different. The way that we interact with the world and the way that our children also interact with the world is very different. You know, it's hard when a medical doctor married to another medical doctor had to take their child to a medical doctor to find out why their child is experiencing early puberty. So it's hard for everybody, not just certain groups of people. And I think the hardest part itself is not really dealing with the early puberty, but I think it's the conversation, because, you know, the younger children are, the harder it is to explain some complex situations to them or complex theories to them. So them understanding what is going on with their bodies and also how they can handle it is quite tricky, because sometimes kids those age can't even bath themselves very clean yet. And you still have to sort of look at, did they wash behind their ears? And now they're dealing with something that is happening to their body that they have to be sensitive around.
All right. So this is the question we're asking on our X handle at Channel Africa 1. What do you think girls are going through puberty earlier? 25% of you say chemical and pollution. I wonder how true that one is. And then 25% of you say diet and lifestyle. and then 50% says it's a mix of all these factors, including social factors as well. So thank you for that contribution on our social media. And if you want to keep that conversation going, remember we are putting that poll up. It's already up on our X handle. It's been there for an hour now. We were asking, why do you think girls are going through puberty earlier? You still have time to give us your thoughts on that. Well, we're saying goodbye, but Lulu is here to say hello. Hey Lulu, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. And how are you guys? Happy Hump Day.
Yes.
Happy Hump Day.
Yes, we were saying that earlier on, so
Yeah.
I beat you to it because you were schooling me last week on what Hump Day is. Let's find out what's happening on the Africa Update.
All right, today a lot coming up. Today we're focusing on a number of things, and one of our question today that I'd want to highlight is the story of the 1-month-old baby girl who was a victim of female genital mutilation. That's FGM
terrible.
in the Gambia. It has sparked widespread outrage, and there have been arrests made, but the question still remains. Why is it still continuing?
I think it's the cultural stuff, yeah.
It's the elderly women, you know? So, as you say, the culture comes into play, but how much longer do, young people have to experience this? I mean, a 1-month-old baby.
Yeah,
how
that's
does it
so
work?
concerning,
You know, so
okay.
this is a big story, and this is our question on hashtag Africa Update. Asks is, do you think countries should be doing more in curbing female genital mutilation?
Very good
It's a
question,
big challenge,
Lulu,
yeah.
yeah.
And then also we focus on Gaza, Palestinian journalists working in harsh conditions, losing their lives. They're documenting civilian suffering while enduring, war. And I always ask the question when it comes to journalists, the mental health crisis that journalists always face, because you can't see so much trauma and have it not affect you or impact your life.
And somehow you're expected to report that objectively.
Oh, yes, of course. And the question is, are companies doing enough to protect journalists? So this is something that we are going to be focusing on Africa Updates. And the loss of life. I mean, the loss of lives when it comes to journalists who sometimes seem to be targeted. So a lot coming up in Africa Updates.
The Gaza story continues to be a sad, ongoing one, and we'll get those details from you later, Lulu. Thank you for giving us that update. Well, we're getting out of here. We'll be back tomorrow, same place, same time.
Of course, we'll be back tomorrow, Gigi.
The way he wasn't sure.
Because I'm thinking, is it Friday today?
No, not yet. Sorry about that. It's not Friday yet. Have yourself a great day, Africa. We will be back tomorrow.
Tune in and turn up the volume. This is Channel Africa.